Now I'm on. I can't respond now. Good afternoon, everyone. We will call this meeting of the Mount Pearl City Council April 7th public meeting to order. You will notice one of our colleagues missing today, Deputy Mayor Jim Locke, out of town for this week. And he actually sent an email to His Worship the Mayor and apologized that he wasn't going to make council. I've been laughing since Friday. But anyway, he's not going to be here for the week, and we're going to miss him. So somebody's going to have to jump in on his committee reports, and I believe that's going to be Councillor Stoyles will do that. And Councillor Aker, you will second if there's anything in that committee. First thing we will do is entertain a motion on the agenda for the meeting of April 7th, moved by Councillor Stoyles. It is seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Are there any additions to the agenda? I see one item here, but I believe that's going to come up under corporate services. Anyway, nothing else outside the agenda. Anything from anybody? Hearing none, we'll call it. All in favor. Contrary-minded, motion is carried. On the agenda then, the minutes of the public council meeting of March 24th. Along with the action report, I will entertain a motion on the minutes, moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Are there any errors or omissions? Again, this is the meeting of March 24th. Errors or omissions? Hearing none. All in favor? Okay. Contrary-minded? Motion is carried. Business arising, I'd ask you to reference it by the item number listed if there's any. Business arising from the March 24th meeting. Councillor Stoyles?
Number 187, the Mount Pearl Square issue that was raised at the last meeting.
187. Let me get to it.
Take your time.
Okay, yep.
I just want to make sure it don't get lost, and I certainly would like to see the committee or staff meet with the landlord at Mount Pearl Square, because they're the ones that puts the tender out to do the snow clearing and that. So I certainly, this year is hopefully almost over, but I don't want this to be back on.
Be over. Winter is over, not the year.
Winter.
The winter is almost over.
The winter is over.
We hope.
But I want to make sure that this don't get lost, because it was here a year ago and it's back again, and I'd like to see it dealt with before another winter comes, so that the residents are not dealing with this again year after year.
A question for Mr. Antle then. Mr. Antle, can we get an inspector or somebody to go up there and meet with the landlord and maybe with that particular snow clearing operator now, before it all shuts down for the summer, and say, guys, can we move this around for next year? Can we get a memo or something out to that effect and get something happening? It does fall to you, right?
No. Falls on the planning.
Your inspector. Story, Stefan.
The answer is we will be meeting with the property owner right now.
Okay, that would be good, I think, to because it popped up last year and they gave us what I thought was a solution, and apparently they've gone back on it, and back comes the problem. Any other items from business arising? Nothing. Hearing none. All right, thank you. Council, we have two proclamations that we are going to have the honor to sign today. The first one is from the Canadian Cancer Society, and this is a proclamation regarding Daffodil Month. I want to recognize with us that we have Sarah Neal down there. Hi, Sarah. And Mr. Al Pelly, of course, with the Canadian Cancer Society. They're both here today. We are going to read the proclamation into the record. And Al, I'm going to get you to come up here with me while I do that, if you would, sir. And we're going to get you to talk a little bit about what's going on after we have read this into the record, if you would. So the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the Canadian Cancer Society Newfoundland and Labrador Division is a community-based organization of volunteers and staff whose mission is the eradication of cancer and the enhancement of the quality of life of people living with cancer. And whereas the daffodil is a symbol of hope in the fight against cancer, it represents the courage of cancer patients, the compassion of volunteers, and the commitment of researchers dedicated to conquering the disease. And whereas the Canadian Cancer Society is committed to funding the most promising cancer research, offering supportive services to those living with cancer and their families, raising awareness of the importance of cancer prevention and early detection, advocating for healthy public policy and operating a toll-free cancer information service. Therefore, I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim April 1st through to the 30th, 2015, as Daffodil Month, to which I shall, on behalf of the city, affix a signature. And Mr. Pelley, I'm going to invite you to address council and tell us a little bit about, well, how the month is going. It's started now, and what plans you have for the rest of the month.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, members of council, for giving us the opportunity to be here with you today and for helping us recognize a very important month for the Canadian Cancer Society. The daffodil is the symbol of hope for people living with cancer, and we've just completed a very successful daffodil flower sales. We sold, I think, Sarah, it was close to, 82,000 bunches of daffodils.
Wow.
Throughout the province, and that money, of course, is used to help us providing services to people living with cancer in this province. Every day in Newfoundland and Labrador, the reality is 9 people will hear the words, "You have cancer," and that's on average. So there will be about 3,200 new cases of cancer in this province this year, and approximately half will succumb to the disease. However, a lot of progress is being made, and throughout the month we like to talk about the successes. And you go back to the 1960s, 25% of all people diagnosed with cancer actually survived the diagnosis beyond the 5-year period. Today, 65% survive. So a lot of progress has been made thanks to research, thanks to education and awareness that we've been really pushing early detection, and we will continue to do that. Cancer is not one disease. As Paula well knows, cancer is 200 diseases. So some people have often said, why hasn't there been a cure for cancer? Well, it's simple. It's not one disease. But the reality is half of those 200 cancers, Your Worship, are in fact preventable. So a big push for the Canadian Cancer Society this year and moving forward is going to be on prevention and awareness, and making people aware of ways in which they can prevent themselves from getting cancer, and really putting a big push on knowing your own personal health and the importance of being checked on a regular basis by your doctor, and things that you can do to avoid getting this terrible disease. So that's where we're going, along with the many other services and programs, including Daffodil Place and the volunteer driving program. And
So how are things at Daffodil Place? I know it has been busy. I'm assuming it's
open.
It's madness now.
Yeah, a little over 5 years now, 5.5 years, and we've had 3,500 people, approximately, a little over 3,500, from 363 communities throughout Newfoundland and Labrador stay there. The average occupancy rate is about 90%, 92%.
There's a lot of hotels would love to have an occupancy rate of 92%.
We'd rather not have that occupancy
I'd
rate.
rather your place was empty every night, yeah.
Yeah, we'd rather have a vacancy rate. We'll work towards that. That's our goal, to eradicate cancer and to enhance the quality of life for people living with cancer.
People are continuing to support Daffodil Place, though, enthusiastically as they did at the beginning.
Yes, they are. The other thing, you're all been given these daffodil pins.
Yes.
So on April the 30th, that's a day that we've designated as a day to, and I'll use these words, stand up to cancer. But to wear it on that day, we want to make a statement to people living with cancer that you're not living alone. You're not fighting this disease alone. On this day, we're supporting you, and we're behind you, and we're with you all the way. So there's going to be a lot of people in Newfoundland and Labrador wearing these pins on the 30th of April. We hope that you will wear them at your council meeting closest to that date. And we have many workplace campaigns where people are actually, in lieu of a Jeans Day, they're buying the pin and they're wearing it on April 30th. And of course, all the proceeds that we raise from that supports our local services and programs as well. So thank you again for having us here.
Thank you, sir, very much. We want to wish you the very best. Council, any comments at all? Councillor Stoyles and then Councillor Tessier.
I just had a
Why
question.
did I know you two?
I just had a question, more so. I know the answer, but volunteer drivers for the Cancer Society, I know you do it at Daffodil Place and people go and use your vehicle and that, but there's also another volunteer program where people drive and they're in great need of drivers, as I'm told, on a regular basis, especially over the winter months when a lot of your seniors that would normally drive don't feel comfortable driving in snowstorms and things like that. So when people come to me and say, you know, they're home and they're bored and they got nothing to do, I always say, well, give me a call. There's lots of stuff you do to volunteer. With Volunteer Week coming up, and one of the things you can volunteer at is driving a cancer patient.
Absolutely. We do it, as you said, from Daffodil Place, but also in the greater metro area, Conception Bay South, Mount Pearl, Paradise, Torbay. We have volunteer drivers that will pick people up at their homes, bring them to the cancer center and for their treatment, and then go back and pick them up and bring them back home. And we do that in the larger urban centers throughout the province as well.
Great. Councillor Tessier.
I just wanted to touch on something that Mr. Pelly said about prevention, because he's absolutely right. For those of us who work every day in this field of cancer.
Yes, you and him both, actually.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we know that. We know that many cancers are not preventable. They're genetic, or there's something that happens where you just can't prevent that you have been diagnosed that you've developed cancer. But many, many cancers can be attributed to changes that can be made in your life. You can prevent them. And there's so many cancer patients now, and there's so many people that I'm sure Mr. Pelly and I both know living with metastatic cancer who would give anything to have the opportunity that most people have right now with changing, you know, lifestyles, making improvements. It could be as simple as making one small change in your life every day. Swapping out your pop for water. Walking, taking the stairs instead of the escalator. You know, getting a higher quality of sleep, doing things to reduce your stress. Stop smoking. For goodness sakes, please stop smoking. So you're absolutely right. There's so many things, and we have to take responsibility for that. Like, we have to take responsibility for ourselves sometimes and recognize there's things we can do, and we should do them. Small steps, a little bit at a time, but, you know.
Small steps, big gains.
Small step, big gains.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really, really glad that you're pushing the preventative measures as well. That's so important. It is so important because there's so many people who would give anything to go back and be able to make changes.
It's a
Amen.
huge initiative that we're undertaking this year.
It's massive.
Thank you, sir, very much. We're going to go down front here and snap a photo, I think is what we're going to do. Yep, we'll just do that. Can I be taller than you today?
In your dreams.
Yes, I beat John. Golf course only right.
So you both look tall now because nobody's there to...
No, there. Thank you all very much. Good luck with the month. Thank you all. So what did you think of my idea about Buy-A-Night?
Oh, it's going to fly.
That going to run? Al and I were talking on the phone a little while ago about their occupancy rate and, you know, how you fund Daffodil Place and how you make it all work and where all the residents come from. And he's got a fascinating story to tell about where people come from, because if you're in here, you don't use it, right? If you live in here, you don't use it, right? And we're talking about all this funding and how to do it, and there needs to be a more consistent thing. And one of the things that I said to him, I said, why don't we get people to buy a night? I think it's about a $50 bill to really cover the cost of someone staying at Daffodil Place. Wouldn't it be great if you went out to the community at large and said, what I want you to do is I want you to buy a night and then sell out every room, every night for the year. You're done, right? Right? Doesn't matter. It's done. And I'd like to. I'll help. We'll all help. All right. We look forward to that. Good luck with the campaign now. See, there's great ideas out there. Thank you, Al, very much. Thank you. Wow, 9 people a day. Get that little message, eh? Wow. Yep. But you know, there is good news when it's gone from 25% survival rate to over 67, and some of them now. Well, I think breast cancer you're involved with, it's higher than that, isn't it? It's yeah. So you know, there's good progress being made. Council, we're going to one other proclamation, and then we'll get down to city business. But this is community business too, so it's important. We have another one. I want to introduce to you Bev Moore. Wave at everybody, Bev. So I got a feeling they're going to figure out which one is Bev sitting down there between the three of you. And I'm going to get you to come up if you would. And Todd, I want you to come as well, I think. Is it Todd or Tom? I want both of you to come up. Tom, you come too. And I'm going to give you this. I'm going to read this. Oh, you're the photographer. Todd, come up here with me. You come up here with me. There's a reason why we're getting him up here. He's wearing the shirt. All right, and I'm going to read this into the record, okay? And the proclamation is for the Walk the Miles for Smiles Foundation, and the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas between 2006 and 2012, 10,897 violent crimes were reported against children under the age of 18 in Newfoundland and Labrador. I want you to think about that. Not Canada, in Newfoundland and Labrador. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month began in 1983 to raise awareness of the alarming rates at which children were being abused and neglected, and whereas every child deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, and nurturing environment, and whereas child abuse continues to be one of our nation's most serious health problems, studies have shown child abuse and neglect causes psychological, emotional, and physical harm, which can create lifelong problems for victims of abuse. And whereas child abuse and neglect impacts our entire society and our society's future, and whereas child abuse prevention is a community responsibility and finding solutions depends on the involvement of all people. And whereas this month we emphasize the importance of understanding the devastating problem of child abuse and neglect and commit to learn more about the behavioral and physical signs of possible abuse, therefore I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim the month of April to be Child Abuse Prevention Month in Mount Pearl. I urge all citizens to work together to help reduce child abuse and neglect significantly in the years to come. And with that, I will affix my signature. I should remember always to sign it. To do that, and Bev, I'm going to ask you to speak a little about this. This is as Councillor Walsh just said, it's disturbing that it's over 10,000. These are the ones that are reported. And there's a hidden thing to this too, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about the month of April and what plans you have made to create awareness and educate around this horrendous issue.
Okay. I'm going to start by telling you that statistically, 90% go unreported. So that number that we just heard, that's only 10%. So that's pretty disturbing, isn't it?
It is.
So with proclamations, I just want to thank you, Your Worship, and councillors. And I do want to mention that the proclamation is just a small part of the awareness component of everything that we are doing. We started with the proclamations in 2013, and we requested the City of St. John's to recognize, and they did, and we were very thankful. The following year, last year, we had 20 municipalities across Newfoundland and Labrador take part in this proclamation signing. This year, we have had support come in the form of a proclamation from Fredericton, New Brunswick. We have Halifax, Nova Scotia, Victoria, BC, and we're still working on PEI, as well as everything else that we had last year. So our plan is, at some point, maybe the entire country will recognize the importance of April. So the awareness is just one part of what we do at the Miles for Smiles Foundation. The other two very important components we support. We have a group that we started in 2011 called ASCA. That's Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. It was formed in 1993 in San Francisco. I did some training and brought the chapter here to St. John's, and we meet twice a month, and we're receiving a lot of very positive feedback from people who are availing of that service. And the other one is, and also with awareness, we do our walk every year at Bowering Park, and this is our third year. We're very pleased to say we have a guest coming this year. We've got a celebrity, Graham Wardle from CBC's Heartland, is coming in to support us that day. We also have in the awareness area in August, we have a bike ride. We've partnered with Survivors, Helping Survivors in British Columbia, and we have a gentleman who's going to ride his bike from Port aux Basques to St. John's, and that's paddle bike, by the way, not a motorbike. I'm hoping to do some of it. Unfortunately, I had back surgery years ago, so I won't be doing the whole run, but I will be doing some of the flat areas.
Or the downhill.
The downhill,
I can
exactly.
do the downhills. That's no problem.
Exactly. And for that one, we have Shannon Tweed Simmons and her sister Sarah coming in to support us for that campaign. And the final component is, of course, a very important one, and that is prevention. So my husband and I traveled to Tucson in February to be the two first Newfoundlanders trained as facilitators of a child sexual abuse prevention program out of A Darkness to Light, an international organization. So our plan is to go across the island and train others, people who work with children, coaches and school teachers and volunteers, but people who are working with children. And our hope is that we will someday make a difference.
Does that training teach them how to identify children who are very likely in an abusive circumstance? Because my understanding of that, these children, they do send signals. There are things that
Absolutely.
you see, and I would think classroom teachers and others would recognize it. John, you would recognize it. Councillor Walsh, you, in your school years, you've come across kids that have been in pretty bad circumstances. Yeah, so that's good work.
One other thing I do want to mention, and I'm glad you brought that up, sometimes those red flags are there, but they're not always acknowledged. Yes, and I'm thrilled to be able to tell you that we've just produced our first video, a Miles for Smiles video that's all about child abuse awareness, and it's coming out later this week, and with a message that encouraging people, if you suspect something, you have to act on it.
Talk about it, yeah.
Exactly.
Now, tell me about this guy in the shirt. Well, I got him up here for what reason? Not just because he's good looking, is it?
Todd came out to support us at the St. John's Proclamation signing as well as here. He's participated in the walks. Would you like to say something, Todd? No? He's a little bit shy.
You do the talking.
Okay. So he's a great supporter, and we're thrilled to have him help us out. He's going to be at the walk this year helping. Frontline Action provides some entertainment in the form of laser tag, so Todd comes and helps us out with that as well.
That's good. Well, and that's the shirts everybody is going to
That is the shirts everybody will be wearing.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Todd. And thank you, Bev. Now, we're going to go out here and do this again. Take another picture. Any comments from council on any of this at all?
Good luck in the snow will be done for your walk.
Yes.
I do have
Councillor Tessier?
Yeah, we all know about, well, unfortunately, child abuse. We hear physical abuse, sexual abuse.
Did that number freak you out?
Yes and no.
I thought we were going to be saying Canada, right? When
No,
I
I
read
worked
first.
in the school system as well years ago with some children who definitely required intervention as well at home. But I love that you're using the word neglect as well, because neglect, people often think if a child isn't sexually or physically abused, that it's probably okay, but it's not always okay. So neglect is a big one as well. I'm really glad that you're using that word.
Sometimes that's not actually defined as
'Cause when
abuse,
a
and it
child-
really, really is.
When a child isn't clean or clothed properly or fed properly or cared for properly, those are very serious situations as well for small children and for any child. So anyway, I'm really glad that you're highlighting that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
I just want to mention that the other one that's we get a lot of people don't realize emotional abuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Emotional abuse leaves horrific
Absolutely.
scars, and it's a very big one.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you for this. And let's do this now. Todd, you might as well be in this photo with us. We got you here. All right. We're going to get you in the middle, and we'll do this. All right, do it. You're noticing that on this picture, on the short Thank you, Ben.
Good luck. Good luck, folks.
I was at O'Donnell High last week and gave out the bronze awards for the Duke of Edinburgh awards, and gave out 16. Thank you, guys. So I'm on the stage, of course, and doing the bronze awards, and all the young people are being called up one by one by one, and I'm shaking their hand, giving their award, doing the grin and grip, and having a picture taken. And I noticed when we got to about number 13 that I'd had to look up at every single one of these young people. The 16th one was a young girl, and she came to just about to my nose, and I said, well, thank God. They were all taller. All right. That's everything on proclamations. We're ready to begin, I believe, committee reports. There's no correspondence to be presented today. We are going to start with Community Services. Deputy Mayor Locke is not here, so Councillor Stoyles, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. A number of items, actually. The instalment for the operating grant for the sports lines is the second grant, and the amount of $80,000 for the Mount Pearl sports lines, and I so move.
It is moved, seconded by Councillor Aker. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next one is Arena Board of Management's second installment operating grant in the amount of $40,000, and I so move.
It moved, seconded by Councillor Aker. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next item is congratulations to the Mount Pearl Minor Hockey Association. I think all of us attended their banquet, their 40th anniversary Hall of Fame, and wanted to say what a great job it was and how professional it was ran. And actually, Dave Edney was into a meeting with our committee last week after, and we certainly passed along congratulations to him, for him to pass along to all the committee members. And he does have some pictures left that he would like to sell. They had 100 pictures donated, and I think they still have 20 or 25 canvas paintings that they would like to sell.
That's
So
the print they commissioned, right?
the print they commissioned that
Yeah.
they give out to everybody that
Yeah.
evening.
We're getting one framed, right,
We're
Mona?
getting one framed.
Yeah, as we speak.
So if anybody's
Yeah.
interested in purchase one of those pictures, I'm sure Mr. Edney will be only happy to.
It was a beautiful night. I think all of council was there.
Yes, it was lovely.
All of us were there, yeah. It was really well done, and to induct 20 people, they did it so speedily, and everybody got their moment. It was good. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
Next item is the Maryland's Swim for Hope. A couple of us attended that event at the Summit Centre on March 22nd on Friday, and hats off to all they've done for their own swim club and internal helping to the Cancer Society as well.
Do we know how much they raised this year?
H. Bliss
Yeah.
Mercy Cancer Centre.
Yeah. Do we know how much they raised this year?
They did post it.
They do really well with it. But this was the first year for it at the new pool, right?
It was,
So I
and
just
it
wondered,
was-
how did it go?
It was lovely.
there?
We were the end they threw the light up little balls in the pool, and then they turned off the lights and they started the first dives and swimming, and they were there from 12 noon until 12 o'clock at night, and I must say it was really good to be there to support them.
Good stuff.
The last item we have is regarding the glacier, and apparently they've been having such great feedback from the skating programs that they've extended some summer programs to continue on. So they have an adult senior skating continuing on, and I think it's going to continue on for April and May. Is that the case? And a pilot project, see how it goes over the summertime, and see how many people for the next couple of months, see how it will go. And they also have a parent and child skating, and the adult and senior skating is from 12 noon to 1:15, and that's for ages 19 and over, and the cost is $3. And the parents and tot is 1:30 to 2:30, and that's $2 for adults and $1 per child. And they're voting rink 2, and looking forward to see how the program works.
All right, so we're offering this. This is our first time offering this. So we're going to keep ice on that rink all year, right? Yeah. Do we do anyway on number 2?
Roller derby is going ahead, right? Correct. 7 annuals. That's in the other arena.
That's in the other arena.
Oh. Okay, it's like cricket. I don't understand it at all.
And that's it for us, Your Worship.
It's a big following.
Roller derby is
Thank you, Councillor Stoyles. Okay, corporate services. Mr. Aker, you're on the floor.
Several items here for council's consideration. I think we have 6 items all told. One is the uncollectible accounts. You see 3 accounts there listed, no more than $3,000, principal, interest, and other charges. All efforts to collect have been exhausted, and we recommend they be written off.
Moved by Councillor Aker, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Number 2 is tax deferrals for low-income earners. You see 2 accounts listed there. I won't get into any details to protect their privacy, and I recommend that we approve the deferral.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary-minded, carried.
Similarly, we have a policy whereby we exempt certain business taxes in accordance with our policy for charitable organizations. And you see them listed there. There's 4 organizations there, all for business tax, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. You know, that really constitutes a contribution, doesn't it?
It is a very worthy one at that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Campia, Canadian Hard of Hearing, the Terry Fox Foundation, and the SPCA.
You take the Terry Fox Foundation, $622 in business tax that they don't have to pay because we exempt nonprofit organizations. That's very good.
And that's only the business side.
That's all, not
They
property
still pay
side.
for the
no.
water, and they
No.
still pay for the property.
No,
Yep,
property
exactly.
tax is
Yep.
sacrosanct. But it goes a long way to help. That's my point. I think that's the point. You
They're
know.
not businesses.
We'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Item number 4, slight amendment. There's a request from the CAO, Ms. Peach, to travel to Corner Brook for the PMA conference on the 14th and 17th of April, and I so move.
Move seconded. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
I'd also like to move that we recommend approval of placing a full-age ad for $500 in the Et Cetera 29 program. Et Cetera 29 this year is being held again at the Glacier, and that's going to be on May 5th to the 9th, and I so move.
Another fantastic show coming.
Yep.
Moved seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any question? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
And the final item, very routine, is invoices for approval totaling $313,640.41, noting that the bulk of that is really regional transportation, as you can see, with St. John's Transportation Commission, and a few things there for basically public works and the like, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question, comment, inquiry. Items number 1 through 13, invoices for approval. Any questions at all on anything? Hearing none, we'll call it. All those in favor?
And, Your Worship, I have another item.
Contrary-minded, motion is carried outside the document.
Outside the kit. We'd like to table a financial statement which has been audited by Harris Ryan. It has to do with the local government gas tax funding agreement. Basically, this is an audit that was done regarding the project known as Mount Carson Avenue. This has been the repaving, realignment of Mount Carson. The total amount of gas tax funding that we received was $4,123,811, and this is the financial report I guess we have to table before it goes forward to, I guess it's going to municipal affairs after here.
How long have we had the gas tax now?
Since 2006, Your Worship, and just for Council's benefit, you can see in the I don't believe everybody has it, but it's available. For example, upgrading at Topsa Road was $2.1 million between 2006 and 10. That is, we upgraded Kennard Place, Casters Drive sidewalks. We put in a 450 millimeter water main connection in Donovan's. We upgraded Trout Place, and we did some upgrading on Michener Avenue in Frontenac. And basically, the expected outcome for these projects, like Mount Carson Avenue, which was a total of over $4 million, was cleaner air due to lower greenhouse gas emissions, and I believe we've accomplished that according to the audit.
What was the total we've spent, gas tax money? What does it all add up to?
$7,200,000 since 2006, and I believe that brings this round to an end. And we're looking forward that in 2015 we'll be
the new
signing
round begins.
a new arrangement.
But it's $7.2 million in federal gas tax money that's come to the city of Mount Pearl. There's a justification for actually being a member of FCM, isn't there?
There is, Your Worship.
I think we got our membership.
Continues,
I think we got our membership dues back. You know, that's the part sometimes people don't realize. They say, you're spending $7,000 or $8,000 to be a member of this group. They don't realize that the long-term benefit of that comes back by what you're able to successfully negotiate.
These are 5-year agreements.
Yeah.
We received $3 million from the first one, 2006 to 10. From 11 to 15, we received $4 million. So hopefully now, from say 16 to 20 or 15 to 19, whatever it works out to be,
we want
we'll be
7 or 8.
receiving about $5 or $6 million.
Here we go again. It's very good work. We will call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Moving on to Infrastructure Public Works. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first three actually are contract awards, but I think we can deal with the first two together with one motion. They're both responses to tenders that were provided and closed on March 13th, and they're both going to Gay Seed. The first is for the supply and delivery of turf maintenance, Your Worship. That deals with things like supply of fertilizer, lime, and some sodding. And the second is the supply and delivery of ornamental stock, trees, shrubs, etc. And we had 2 bidders for the first one, and I think we had 2 bids for the second one as well, and in both cases, Gay Seed was the low bidder, and we're recommending that these be awarded. The first for the amount of $29,289.60, HST included, and the second for $10,832.18, and I so move.
It is moved and, who's doing it? Who's seconding for you today? Tis you. Seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Question or comment? We're going to do both of them as one, so we're actually approving $40,121.78. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
The second item, Your Worship, deals with the contract award for asphalt crack sealing, TP 15003. The committee was advised that the tender closed on the 20th of March with just one bid received. It was a compliant bid. We recommend that we award the contract to Crown Contracting, the sole bidder, for the amount of $34,578, which includes HST, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
Your Worship, just as we've always done seasonally, we provide an update on either summer operations or winter operations. We're pleased to be able to say that right now our winter operations are really slowing down. Our seasonal crew layoffs have been extended, however, until the 10th of April. If you recall, last year we did the same thing. It seems like the cycle of snow seems to have been a little bit later in the year. In fact, we had a little more than 50 centimeters of snow just a few weeks ago. So we did extend the layoff until the 10th of April, and it probably will come into effect on the 10th of April in all likelihood. We're winding down our winter operations. The larger equipment is being steam cleaned and parked for the most part on our depot lots. We've discontinued the practice of putting the large blowers out and widening streets. It's pretty much counterproductive with some of the melting that's taking place now. And of course, the fleet services will commence reactivating some of our summer equipment, like street sweepers, in the next few days or a few weeks as well. So, you know, it's about transitioning from one season operations to another and making sure that the equipment is serviced and put away. And we still haven't forgotten. We're still looking at a location for an inside storage for these, and that's pretty high on our radar. Water and sewer, the data loggers that we ordered and the correlators have both been ordered. The loggers have been received. We're waiting for delivery of the correlator. Once they come in, they'll be installed and utilized. And generally, our leak detection program kicks in early in the summer, and in fact, usually by the 1st of June. We do have a fairly lengthy list of private repairs that we try to get to as time permits, and we'll commence as soon as the weather allows and the frost is out of the ground with those private repairs as well. Something new and different that I have not reported on is traffic light signalization. Recently, one of our workers has taken, in fact, our superintendent, Eric Arsenault, has taken a real interest in overseeing the signal light controls. And, you know, we have not been in the practice of having, for example, supply ready for replacement parts for traffic controls. And what we're doing right now is not only Mr. Arsenault, but some of the foremen that work with him and some of the other workers that work as part of our outside operations are actually trying to get some training done on how these, some of the basic functions of the signalization. For example, even simple things like resetting the lights and some other things, so that there is a better and improved level of oversight for those kinds of things. I will tell you that we did replace and upgrade the cabinet at Thomas Burn intersection, put a new controller and some other electrical components there. For whatever reason, some of the control arms and other electrical components at that new intersection used old equipment, so that's all been replaced. And we do have a number of other locations where in Mount Pearl right now, all of the signalized intersections and lights that we have are actually traffic activated. And that's basically, they read the signal from the amount of steel that's actually placed in the asphalt. So that's how it's done. So a lot of us, including me, thought for a number of years it was some sort of a laser beam that was broken by the car, but it's actually in the ground. We have 4 or 5, maybe even a half dozen, sounds like pound, half, that are not working now, that are on timers, but these are about to be replaced, and we're in the midst of servicing them, so that we will soon return to having all of the lights and all the intersections on traffic activation. So just something new that we're expanding into our services with Infrastructure Public Works. That's it for me.
I'll ask while I got you. Have you guys had a chat about the dirtiest word in the English language for a municipal councilor anywhere? The word is pothole. Have you had a chat about potholes? Because a lot of people seem to want to have a chat with me.
Yeah, well, it's the last couple of years, not just this year, but this year in particular was worse than last in terms of the extreme thaws and freezes, and
we're getting more
you're getting more adverse conditions in terms of potholes and the need for pothole repairs. We try to address them as well as we can with some cold patching and some other temporary repairs. But until the plant opens, which is normally in June sometime, I think, is it? Not Mr. Antle. Until then, we can only do what we classify as temporary repairs. But if people notice a pothole, by all means, please notify us at the depot at the Windsor building. We'll have someone run out and investigate it. Fairly often we're on these ourselves, but sometimes you can get potholes emerge in secondary streets and neighborhoods and those areas. We always welcome knowing about them, and even if we're already aware from it, it's just a telephone call.
One of the things that I got told this weekend past, and it was a guy who lost a rim. The cones, and we had a lot of wind this weekend. The cones don't work. Apparently, sitting those out there in the elements, when we get any kind of wind, they're not staying there. That's not, So I wonder, should we not have a better means of warning people about these potholes? And obviously, I'd love to see the city, if they could, come up with a strategy to address them. Certainly before June, but
something that we could look at for sure. The cones work, but in good weather conditions. That's the problem.
Well, that's the problem.
We've had cones up on the just outside Sobeys there, where there was some area, and the cones were there and they're still there now, actually, for a long period of time. But just to warn people that, to be cautious that there is a problem there.
It's like these cones blew away, apparently.
Yeah, and conditions like Friday night, for example,
that'll happen.
Almost anything will blow away.
Almost anything, yeah. Mr. Antle with a comment, and then Councillor Tessier with a question. Sorry, John, we kept...
No problem. I'm done anyway.
Go ahead, Director Antle.
Yes, we'll certainly take that under advisement about the cones. Generally speaking, the cones go in combination with more permanent signs, if you want to call it, that we've weighted down, and more stable signs. The reason for the cones are to try and identify the length of some cases, the length of the pothole section. The potholes, this is the season. It's going to get worse for the next few weeks as the frost comes out of the ground, just to let you know. We will do some temporary repairs between now and when the plants open up. We do have our asphalt recycler, so we do put that out when we can. We try to get it with the best weather conditions we can to make those repairs. There are a couple of areas in the city that we've noticed particularly bad. A section there right in front of Sobeys on Old Pleasant Road, and there's a section there at Merchant Drive and Richard Nolan.
And down by the bridge.
There's a bad one there too.
Commonwealth is really
but
bad.
Those two ones I just identified, we've got our asphalt and concrete repairs tender that's out now, and we've got identified a couple of catch basins we need to put in there. It's not just a bad section of asphalt. We need some drainage improvements put in those.
So there's going to be a lot of work done there.
There's more work there than just fixing a pothole.
Yeah. So. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Tessier?
This might seem silly or I don't know, minimalistic, I guess, as an approach, but we've seen at different trade shows, at conferences, at FCM and at M&L as well, we've seen these bags of asphalt, temporary asphalt. We know there's not a permanent solution, and it's something that you can pack into a pothole until asphalt plants open. Do we utilize that?
We've tried a couple of different products over this winter that have been brought to our attention. Each one of them really relies upon, you've got to have the frost out of the ground, and that's the most difficult thing we face. I mean, we explained this before at Infrastructure and Public Works. Sometimes when the temperatures are varying so much, it's very difficult for us to achieve a solution. If the temperatures stay below zero in the wintertime, we're better off if they stay that way. It's when the ground moves with the frost and the water inside of it. So the water is our biggest culprit, and the water then gets down below the surface of the asphalt and freezes and pops up. So the bags of asphalt, the stone we put there, sometimes we did a repair at the one at Merchant Drive in Richmond Nolan. We did a long repair overnight one evening. It took us 7 or 8 hours to do it. Within an hour the next morning when the traffic hit it and the frost came out, the repair was gone. So sometimes it's a losing battle, but it's a continuous battle until we actually get to
It really is.
better weather.
Okay, thank you for this. Any other comment? Hearing none, thank you, Councillor Walsh. Planning and Development Committee, Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. We've got a number of items on our agenda this evening. I'll try to get through them as quickly as possible. First, we're dealing with a proposed consolidation of some property. It's an application from a property owner at 11 Forest Avenue, and what he wishes to do is purchase the property which is denoted as 9A Forest Avenue. It's the wooded land, I guess, at the rear of his property, as well as some of the other properties there along Forest Avenue. It's a primarily forested backland which abuts a number of single dwelling lots. What he'd like to do is develop a garage on his newly acquired property if he is to acquire it. The owner of 11 Forest Avenue is interested in acquiring either the entirety of 9A Forest Avenue or at the very least just the portion of the property which would extend his property straight back from the road. Now, currently the development regulations in the City of Mount Pearl state that when it comes to a subdivision of land such as this one, that no lots intended for residential purposes shall have a depth exceeding 4 times their frontage. It should be noted that in the case of this acquisition of 9A Forest Avenue, if you combine 9A Forest Avenue with 11 Forest Avenue, you will have that very situation where the depth of the lot would be, in fact, 4 times or more than 4 times the frontage. However, there is really no apparent public purpose for this land as it exists right now. And the truth be told, it's not necessarily representative of a subdivision of land in the truest sense of the word, because the applicant here is not really looking to create 2 different lots and have 2 different homes on the lots. He's simply looking to create 1 large lot. So we did discuss this in committee, and we are prepared to recommend approval of the purchase of land here, the consolidation of the 2 lots, with the following conditions. Number 1, that the proposed consolidation of the lots be approved. Number 2, a copy of a deed of conveyance and a consolidated survey submitted to the city for records. Number 3, that the use of this land, including any alteration of the vegetation and or grade, will require the submission of a development application to the city. 4, once the land is acquired and consolidated and the city is in receipt of the deed of conveyance, if the applicant wishes to maintain the accessory building on the property, an application is to be submitted to the city for the accessory building or for the building to be removed. Number 5, any future use or development of the consolidated lot is subject to the submission of a development application to the approval of council. And finally, number 6, the payment of a $2,000 per acre regional trunk sewer service levy be paid for the backlot portion of the consolidated lot. So I'm tongue-tied here this evening. Tang-tied. We're prepared to recommend approval of this consolidation of the 2 properties, and I so move.
Moved. Seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any questions or comments? I have only one. It is in reference to recommendation number 6, the $2,000 acre regional trunk sewer lot levy. It was my understanding, I'll look to Mr. Yeftek, it was my understanding that that levy does not come into play unless there is development on the lot. Is that not the case? And in this instance, we're not seeing any development, are we? Would that?
Your Worship,
he's already got that there. That's
you are correct. It doesn't go upon unless a development permit is issued for the lot. And what we're doing is issuing a development permit, so that portion of the lot that is not subject.
Well, what's he developing there?
Well, he's putting together a larger lot, and that's development. That's the full development of the land, right?
So the actual consolidation of the land is considered a development?
Correct. And so he pays a service levy on that portion of the land, which is now being incorporated into the new lot. Correct.
Okay. Does everybody see where I'm coming from on that? Lot number 9 pays its portion, right? Lot number 9 pays its levy. lot number 11 pays its levy, right? They're on the trunk sewer. They paid they paid their money. The backland that we're now cutting out and making into and transferring from what was originally 9, right, to number 11. I'm not seeing the development piece. I'm seeing the consolidating the land piece. I'm not seeing the development piece. That's all. I'm just wondering how we're distinguishing.
Yeah, Your Worship, just to make a slight correction, this parcel of land, according to our records, has never been part of a lot that has paid any service levies. In the area, what you have is a series of developed lots around this back lot. That lot never formed one of those lots. As a result of this application and the issuance of a development permit, which is what we are doing, we are now consolidating that into an existing lot. And what we're doing is that back land, or that residual land that has not been part of any lot, is now being forming a part of that land and is then subject to our service levy.
So if the new owner of this land pays this fee now, when he comes to make application down the road for what I see as a 20 by 30 new garage, he won't get hit with it again. I would have thought, that's just me, that he wouldn't have gotten hit with that at all until he actually made application to develop something there. That's the only piece of it that I had a question about it.
But one of the other ways of looking at this, Your Worship, is you've already acknowledged, for example, number 9 pays a deferred levy fee. Number 11 pays a deferred levy. Now they're going to pay an increased deferred levy fee based on $2,000 per acre, because it's a much bigger lot than what they had before. So to not include it in terms of the charging of the levy fee would be inappropriate and inconsistent with what we already do.
Yeah,
so
I guess,
we charge 9 and we charge 11, and now we've got an expanded piece of property. Obviously, you have to charge on the basis of the larger property as well. It's an amount of money per acre, as far as I understand, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a lot of money, by the way, for this. I appreciate that.
Not at all.
I'm just grappling with the principle as to what I understood a lot levy to be, right? Anyway, Mr. Yevchek?
Just to clarify another point, it's a minor point, but there is development on the land already, which has not had any service levies applied to it. So this is just going to make everything come up to equal standing in terms of development that's actually on it. What's on right now? Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is going to. Yeah, and that retroactively, I suppose we'll say. All right, I get you. Anyway, call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded. What is the old line they say at school? Clear as mud. Clear as mud.
Next item is a proposed discretionary use. It's at 26 Becklin Road. It is an application from Atlantic Controls, and they're proposing to occupy a portion of the existing building at the property. This amounts to units 3 and 4 of 26 Becklin Road. They're proposing to occupy approximately 10,000 square feet of the building, or 23% of the current area. The use is going to be a combination of an office, a warehouse, a valve repair shop, and a small sandblasting unit. It represents a new use for this portion of the building. And of course, it is a use that is similar to some of the other uses that are in the neighboring area. The proposed use was advertised as per Council's public notification policy. There was a briefing session that was scheduled for March 11th, 2015. We did receive no representations, however, so the briefing session was cancelled. Since this is a proposed new use for the building, and since for the industrial light use it is a discretionary use to do with the sandblasting piece of the operation, it is going through a public process, and that's the reason why it's here for today. We're prepared to recommend, after discussing in committee, that the application submitted be approved and that a development permit be issued as per the conditions in the kit, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Question or comment? All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
Next item, Your Worship, is a proposed change of use. This is at 85 Glencoe Drive, and the application comes from Nalco Champion. It's a development application to occupy a portion of the existing building at 85 Glencoe Drive for the purpose of bulk chemical warehousing. It's a proposed distribution center, and it's to include indoor storage of up to 158,000 litres of various chemicals packaged in 1,350-litre totes and 55-gallon drums. Property is located in the industrial light use zone, and a hazardous industry use is listed as a discretionary use for this zone, and thus, of course, we're bringing it forward as part of the public process that it has to go through. The property is located on the east side of Glencoe Drive and is surrounded by similar uses. The application was advertised as per Council's public notification policy. We received 6 written representations on this proposal, and therefore a briefing session was held on March 24th of 2015. Some of the concerns that were brought forth through the representations in the briefing session had to do with the risk of chemical spills, the potential for fire and vapors being emitted from the development. As well, there was some concerns about the impact on property values around the development and the accommodation of parking and traffic flow around the site. In response to some of the concerns that were raised, the applicant has noted that all of the storage of these chemicals will be inside the facility. The containers being used are certified by Transport Canada for offshore use, and it should be noted that the offshore use is certainly a more stringent piece than some of the regulations and the guidelines that will be used for simply land transportation of some of these chemicals. So they're held to a higher standard. Nalco is fully insured for all potential events that could occur at the site. The building is sprinklered, and Nalco has a basic emergency plan in place, which they're required to have. As well, they're committed to working with the city and the St. John's Regional Fire Department to ensure that all requirements for this particular development are met. It is noted that Nalco has over 40 similar sites in Canada, and there's not been any impact per se, at least any negative impact on property values near any of these sites. And the company is currently working on a parking and traffic plan for the site, and certainly will consider any and all feedback that was received at the briefing session and any further feedback that is to be received. The applicant has advised that this is only going to be a temporary storage facility with 3 to 4 employees. Over the next 2 years, they plan to look for a more permanent facility for the storage of these chemicals. We've reviewed the application in committee, and seeing as how the proposed development meets all of the development regulations and there are similar uses throughout Donovan's Business Park, we're prepared to recommend that the application be approved and that the permit for 85 Glencoe Drive be issued, and I so move.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Walsh. Nothing to be stored outside, correct?
That's correct.
Any question or comment?
Just a comment, Your Worship.
Councillor Walsh.
In Councillor Ledwell's absence, I chaired that briefing session, and there were a couple of things that are noteworthy. I think the concerns that were expressed by some of the property owners who lived or operated businesses, I should say, not lived, adjacent to that, were generally in the spirit and intent of just genuine concern for chemical storage in the area. The truth is, these chemicals, exact same chemicals in even higher volumes, are already being stored in Donovan's, because these are typical chemicals that support offshore operations, and there are a number of businesses in Donovan's that already do that. But I just wanted to mention 2 things in particular. Number one, that in our referral to the Provincial Department of Environment, they require that any kind of indoor storage like this has the capacity for containment, and the containment requirements are that it can contain up to 110% of the largest container so if there was even an unlikely event of a spill, there would be containment in place, indoor containment. So that's one thing. And the second thing, of course, is that because it has to be contained, there has to be diking built around the floor. In other words, the floor has to be dropped, and there's diking all around the outside of the floor so that it can actually contain, if there was, again, a puncture or spill or something, it could actually contain that. In terms of fire and threats of fire and inflammation, just up the road from that is liquid air, propane. So, if there was actual combustion or fire or any hazards along those lines, that would be far more aggressive and more dangerous. So I think during the briefing session, all of the initiatives towards mitigation were explained thoroughly. And of course, the business Nalco Champion, if they use it at all, in fact, they're asking for it because they want to try to get a foothold into business. This would be a temporary location for them. It's already a fairly busy location, but they can accommodate some storage there. And I think all of the concerns, for the most part, that were raised were addressed as part of that briefing session.
Thank you, sir. Any other comment? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I do want to thank Councillor Walsh for chairing that briefing session. I certainly appreciate that. Next item is just for the information of Council and for the public. As part of our Pearl Awards program, which we hold in the city every year, and certainly we're very proud of it, there was a workshop that was held on gardening. The theme was Falling in Love with Containers. And we had Liz Close, who's the director of the Munn Botanical Gardens here at City Hall, to facilitate that on March 26th, 2015. All of the participants for the Pearl Awards program from this year were invited to take part. We had some city staff members as well, and by all accounts it was a well-attended session and very informative as well. So we just want to bring that forward. And certainly we're very proud of the contribution that the Munn Botanical Gardens continue to make towards our Pearl Awards program.
Absolutely excellent.
Next item is another application for a subdivision of an existing lot, and this comes from Frog Pond Holdings Limited. It's at 126 Glencoe Drive, where they're proposing to subdivide the lot. They're proposing to create 2 parcels of land in the industrial light use zone once again. Currently there is an existing building that's on the southern portion of the lot. The total lot has an area of 22,483 square meters. Subdivision would see the current lot reduced to 14,394 square meters, and they'd create a separate lot of 8,093 square meters. It is unknown at this point what the second lot will be used for. However, it certainly will be the subject of a further development application once the proponent comes in and wants to develop that particular piece of property. Of course, all minimum standards for the development will have to be met upon the development of that new lot. Now, if the existing driveways are to be used for any new buildings, and if the parking lot is to be in fact shared, it should be noted that a shared access agreement will be required for this property, so we want to make the proponent aware of that. The proposed subdivision does comply, however, with the regional plan as well as with the municipal plan, and the proposal does provide for sufficient parking for both lots. We've reviewed in committee, and certainly we're prepared to recommend that the proposal go forth and the development permit be issued, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
Next item, Your Worship, is the development permit list for the March 23rd, April 3rd period of 2015. It is a rather short list, just one permit to move. It's 1012 Topsail Road for sales, office, occupancy use, and I so move.
So who's that?
Who is that? I'm not sure.
Just give him some advertising. Who is it?
Who is it?
The
Do we know
sales
the record
office.
check?
1012. Where's 1012? Where's 1012 Topsail Road? Where's 1012? 990. Where's
Up here.
998?
There you go.
Well, 1012 has always been there. To whoever is occupying 1012 Topsail Road, welcome. What if it's somebody who's been here for years?
Expedia moved in there.
Expedia?
Yeah.
Hold on now.
Oh,
Stefan
we have
knows.
an answer.
Mr. Yefchek. Councillor Yefchek.
Your Worship, it's if you recall, last year we approved, or a year and a half ago, we approved a new building on the north side of Topsail Road, west of Commonwealth Avenue. It used to be a former Chinese restaurant and home that was torn down, and that was acquired, and the gentleman who acquired it has redeveloped it into a lock. A key and lock business. The next business, which is this one, is actually a sales office for cruise ship lines.
Expedia. That's I went to the opening.
She's right.
It wasn't Expedia, but something very close to that.
It's not Expedia? What is it then? Experience, cruise line. Anyway, so you can go there to book a cruise. I would like to do that right now. Okay. Next, all in favor? Country-minded. We love the cruise business.
I
Go.
wouldn't mind going on cruise myself, but I've got to finish this planning report
This
first.
has got to happen first.
Mercifully. One more motion, Your Worship. It is on the residential side for our building construction totals for the period March 23rd to April 3rd, 2015. You'll see there the list is a little bit longer this time. Our total is $268,588, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
That's it for I.
Thank you, sir. That's it for you. We are going to Transportation Public Safety. Councillor Tessier.
First item is just an FYI, and I guess it's probably fitting because, please God, we're at the end of this winter, and of course that's when we generally see a little more, if any problematic areas are going to pop up, it's going to pop up generally when the weather gets better. So we want to remind the public that we do have a Neighborhood Watch program. You can email neighborhoodwatch@mountpearl.ca, or you can call 748-1082. And our theme, of course, is your home, your community, keep it safe. So we want to make people aware that that opportunity is always available to them, and we'd be happy to support neighborhoods who want to establish a Neighborhood Watch program. Unfortunately, our winter parking ban is over. And we're glad about that because that means that we're, please God, heading into spring. However, we want to remind residents that vehicles can still be removed and or impounded if we have a snowstorm, because our snow clearing regulations still state that a vehicle is not permitted to be parked on any street within the city during a storm and for 12 hours thereafter, so that we can very appropriately and adequately clear the snow from that storm. I'm really hoping that this is just an FYI and that we don't really need to act on it or anything like that, and that we won't get another storm.
Not going to need to.
There is a $30 minimum fine, and of course unattended vehicles can be removed and impounded at the owner's expense. We don't want to see any of that happen because we don't want any snow. We're done. We've had enough. But just in case Old Man Winter is not paying attention and doesn't really care, we want to remind everybody that, of course, this is still the case, because there could be some confusion with our winter ban over, with our parking ban over. There can still be some confusion. If there is a storm,
if there's snow, you better go.
Yeah, if there's a storm, you still have to have your vehicles off the road so that we can adequately clear our streets. And that's it.
Thank you very much. That concludes all committee reports. New business. Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things. Tomorrow night, the Northeast Avalon is meeting. They changed the date to a meeting for the month of April, and it's going to be in the town of Paradise tomorrow evening at 6:30. And they have Ed Grant with Waste Management speaking tomorrow night. So if anybody is interested in coming to that meeting, I'm sure it's going to be an interesting meeting. And also with this coming weekend, Volunteer Week is starting on this coming Sunday. I wanted to say thank you to all the volunteers out there. We are blessed in Mount Pearl to have so many community organizations and so many groups and so many sports organizations and individuals driving for cancer and doing all kinds of great things in our community. And I just want to say a big thank you to all of them.
Amen. Thank you for that. Councillor Walsh.
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Nothing at all. Councillor Tessier.
Yep. Mount Pearl Minor Hockey. Ames Novice Hockey is a young team in Mount Pearl, and they participated in the Rogers Hometown Hockey Contest.
By the way, they're leaving tomorrow.
Yep, 24 teams across Canada participated. They were the only team from Newfoundland and Labrador, and they have indeed won their cheer contest.
They won the national.
They've got this $56,000 award.
Trip, yep.
So it's a trip to Toronto.
Trip of a lifetime.
They meet players. They get to do their cheer live on national television, and of course they're representing Newfoundland and Labrador Minor Hockey, Newfoundland and Labrador, and of course the Mount Pearl Minor Hockey Association.
Amen.
And I got to tell you, there was an awful lot of votes went out from, I'm sure, every one of us on our cells every day, on our computers every day.
I did 3 votes. I did one from my phone, I did one from my iPad,
and one from your computer. Absolutely. We were down at the hockey game last Saturday.
Is that cheating?
No, you were allowed.
Yes.
No. You were allowed. Yeah, you were allowed.
Oh, I did one vote on each device.
That's what we did,
maybe
one a
I didn't
day.
help very much at all.
One a day, but we were at the Ice Caps game on Saturday night, and we was like, oh, we didn't vote yet. And of course, here we are.
Everybody did.
On the phones, or it was a Friday night. Here we were on the phones trying to get a signal in mile one to make sure we could vote. Anyway, we're really proud of them. We know they're going to have an absolute blast. It is a trip of a lifetime, and this is something that they will remember for the rest of their days, which is absolutely outstanding. I wanted to wish them well and a safe trip.
Thank you. Councillor Aker, nothing. Councillor Ledwell.
One quick item. First of all, I do want to congratulate Ames as well. But I just want to make a mention of the Knights of Columbus, Father John B. Kent Council. Of course, we're all aware of all the great work that they do in our community. Their antique car sweep is wrapping up once again for another year, and that's their biggest fundraiser.
I got to go do a draw at some point.
It's the draw's on Saturday.
That's
that's coming up. Yeah, that's coming up real soon. They do they have the car at the Avalon Mall, of course. The tickets are on sale. So just want to put in a little plug. Certainly get out and get your tickets if you haven't got them already. The Knights of Columbus, Father John B. Kent Council do, believe it or not, 85 different programs for people in our community out of that building down in Greenwood Crescent. So
amazing, isn't it?
Certainly it's a huge part of our community, and I'd like to see the group supported and spend your money down there because they deserve it.
Absolutely. Would you check on that for me? Sure will. Because I'm noticing on the 11th here, we have our Citizen of the Year event happening at the Reed Center.
Yes.
At the very same time.
I think they're aware of that conflict.
Can you find out for me what I'm doing?
I sure can.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Council, I've got a couple of things I want to bring up. First of all, had the pleasure this week of going to Mary Queen of the World School and meeting with all the grade 5s. Myself and Superintendent Tilley. They liked him more than me because he was in a uniform. All I had was a chain of office. Wasn't that impressive? We had a great morning with them, Bill, talking about issues in Mount Pearl and things that are going on in Mount Pearl. And it was surprising to hear these young kids talk about some of the things that they brought up about Mount Pearl. Love the summit. All good to go on all of that. Pretty soon, though, we're going to have to look at doing something with our skateboard park. Apparently, there's some new equipment out there. Be aware. There's new things, apparently, that we're now falling behind, and so on. But it was great. Want to offer congratulations as well to our swim team here from the city of Mount Pearl over there. They didn't drown. They did win. They beat CBC on last Friday, or what day that was now, that we had the CBC morning show in Mount Pearl and at the summit. We cheated to win it. Councillor Tessier says she didn't leave early from the blocks, but she did.
Apparently I left a couple of seconds early, but when we reviewed the tape, Ms. Smith left way before me.
Oh, so you actually beat her outright, you're saying?
Cheat as bad.
They both cheated. Anyway, I wanted to pass that on, and again to just say that the minor hockey 40th anniversary event, the establishment of the new Hall of Fame, was an outstanding piece of work. Look forward to that being a yearly event, adding people to the Hall of Fame, and boy, when you think about the list of people that are worthy to go there, they've got a lot of years worth of work in front of them on that. I mentioned earlier about the Bronze Awards last week at the Duke of Edinburgh Awards at O'Donnell. 16 kids. Shouldn't even call them kids, really. They're young men and women who are on this journey to achieve the gold, and they are doing outstanding work. Very, very impressive. And last evening I had the honor of representing the city at the opening of the Provincial Midget A Hockey Provincial Championships being hosted here in Mount Pearl again this year. And we have teams from 6 different communities across Newfoundland and Labrador engaged in the process. And I dared to say, "Go Blades, go" last night. And there was a whole bunch of teams there didn't jump up and down about that. They weren't all that fussy. But it's a fun tournament. And by the way, it's good hockey. Right? It's good hockey. Anyway, so we have all kinds of events coming up as well. And with that, life in Mount Pearl continues to be busy. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Councillor Ledwell. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.